All right, so I'm going to give you a trade proposition. Would you pull the trigger on getting Vlad Guerrero Jr. in a Mariners uniform? It's going to cost you Andres Munoz, Harry Ford, the guest of last week's show, and say a top 50 prospect. Are you pulling the trigger on that?
From the EQC studio, welcome to The Top Step with Ryan Rowland-Smith.
How are we going, mates? Welcome back to another episode of The Top Step. We are back inside the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook. I absolutely love this place. This place is awesome. And we have a very special guest. We have got former Mariner, played for 5 different teams, but we remember him as a Seattle Mariner, and he absolutely dominated, by the way, in 2021, his last time in a Mariners uniform. Casey Sadler, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Look, I got to ask you, man, what are you doing here, man? You should be pitching. Have you seen the numbers? We talked about it before you came on. The last little streak you had, I think it was, 29 scoreless innings, Mariners record, dominating. I know you've dealt with some injuries.
Yep.
Where are you at right now in that process?
Just hanging out. Just waiting for the offseason, enjoying time with my family.
I love it. Hey, listen, man, you get a chance to come here to the sports. But you ever been inside this place?
Have not. This is phenomenal.
It's nice.
It's really cool.
That is nice. We've got some big screens here. You've got all kinds of sports happening. Giant baseball game happening right now. But there is a lot going on inside the Emerald Queen Casino. Here's what's happening at Emerald Queen Casino this week. Get lucky at our fan favorite Lucky for Lottery Wednesdays in August. Match 3 numbers to win free play. Match 4 numbers to win $5,000 cash. Mondays and Tuesdays earn points to receive an elegant Jones New York dinnerware gift set. Then August 8th and 9th, get ready for the ultimate girls' night out with the legendary Chippendales. I think Casey's going to headline that show. You got to be here for it. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. All kinds of stuff happening. And a big thanks to Emerald Queen Casino being the major sponsor of the Top Step. All right, so a lot happening inside the Emerald Queen Casino. Casey, a lot happening with the Seattle Mariners too. We've got some trades to talk about. There could be some more too, by the way. We are filming this before the trade deadline, and this is going to come out after the trade deadline, but I want to get into the top trends. Now, check out this trade. This comes from ilovebaseball.org. Go to ilovebaseball.org. You can see all the amazing things they're doing with young men down in the Dominican Republic. For $39 a month, you can really support some of these young ball players. So check it out. The Seattle Mariners give up 3 prospects. One of them, a player to be named later, a top 30 prospect, and one other prospect, one of their top prospects for Randy Arozarena. This is that big move, man. Everyone was wondering about this big move. So talk to me, Casey, when you saw this news. This is number one, and we also have Yimi Garcia as well. But let's talk about Randy Arozarena. What does he bring to this team?
I think the amount of energy that he brings, I think the postseason experience that he brings, the run that he made in 20, that was ridiculous. I think he's someone that knows Julio. Him and Julio know each other pretty well. So I think the two of them inside that clubhouse could be the kind of catalyst that this lineup needs to get going. I was super excited about this when I saw this. So I'm curious to see how he's going to fit in the lineup.
You mentioned the energy too, right? In the clubhouse, obviously we see it on the field. We saw it last year at the All-Star game. What does that do to a team? Because, man, we know this team. They struggled at home, that series against the Angels. They go on the road. Then all of a sudden you hear this news. As a player, and in recent years as well, you get this news and think to yourself, all right, the Mariners or the team I'm with, they're going all in. You know, in other words, they're not sitting back kind of being passive and trying to figure this out. This is kind of a statement, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, from a player's perspective, anytime you get that caliber of a player to come into your clubhouse, it's going to give you that kind of breath of life that I feel like they need right now. So, like I said, I'm anxious to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and the other part with Randy Arozarena too, we know how explosive, how dynamic he is as a player. He started the year off rough too. Yeah. Hearing about it, he went into the offseason trying to put on more weight. He was trying to be a complete hitter by hitting the ball to right field. It just didn't work out. His swing didn't look right. And the big milestone, I remember talking to some people with the Rays organization, was, man, if he could just get to 200. I'm like, Randy Arozarena? We're talking about him getting to 200? Well, since then, we're talking April, May, but June, July, he has absolutely gone off. You look at some of the numbers in June, July. So I think this is a really good time for the Seattle Mariners to acquire Randy Arozarena. And honestly, I don't know these prospects that the Mariners gave up. In other words, you don't know what they're going to do, right? A young prospect. I felt like it didn't cost him that much, right?
I think the key is going to be the player to be named later.
Yes.
Who is in that pool of players, or who
Right.
out of this year's draft that's not eligible technically to be traded right
Yeah.
now is going to be that third piece. I think that's going to be the key of, like, is this kind of even? Did
Right.
we win? Did we lose? That kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on that end.
You know, it's funny too, because weeks leading into this, the Mariners were 10 games up in the division. That lead dwindled. And all of a sudden, now you got the Houston Astros. So now it's really competitive in the AL West. The other part of this is, too, you can't shoot for the wild card, right? It's way too deep in that wild card. So if you don't get that AL West, man, it's, when you look at this kind of move, it is kind of risky. Now, I do want to say, because coming up after the break, I hear this all the time on the streets. I hear people texting in if I'm on the radio. People, firing off tweets at me. Hey, go get Vlad. Go get this guy. Go get that guy. Easier said than done. So coming up after the break, I'm going to put Casey Sadler on the hot seat. If you think it's that simple to get some of these moves. Now, again, the Mariners could have made them. We don't know. We're waiting to see. Either way, we're going to throw some names that you're not going to be super comfortable giving up right after the break. Keep it right here on the Top Step.
Welcome to Tacoma. We sit in the shadow of no one, except Mount Tahoma. It's who we are. We like to get loud, and we're all about the thrill of going for it. We just put on our game face and play. So get ready for whatever the next adventure holds. From the big shout, to the big payout, to the big night out. We're here for it. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
All right, welcome back inside the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook, and welcome back to the Top Step. I've got Casey Sadler joining me, the former Mariner who dominated in a Mariners uniform, but we get to have him right here on the Top Step, which I feel very lucky about. Now, I said before the break that I'm going to put Casey on the hot seat. I'm going to jump in on this too, Casey, by the way, because it's always fun, right, when you have some trade propositions and everyone tends to think it's kind of easy. Go get Vlad. Go get Garrett Crochet. Go get whoever. It's like, hey, all right, if you want to do that, this is what it's going to cost you. So this segment, this interview is brought to you by San Juan Seltzer, the official drink. A nice drop, too, in the middle of summer. It's 90 degrees out, and I'm wearing this jacket. I'm sweating a little bit in this sweet jacket. I'll tell you right now, Casey went well with the short sleeves. All right, so this is how we're going to kick it off. Casey, I'm going to give you a name because I get these tweets all the time. Again, trade deadline has happened. We're filming this right before, so who knows? Maybe the Mariners may have pulled some of these off. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Okay, the first one. I hear this name come up all the time. The Toronto Blue Jays are toying with the idea of a rebuild. And then they're saying, no, we're good. Maybe it's a little scheme to up the ante a little bit, up the cost of some of these players. So the first one, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in a Mariners uniform. All right, so I'm going to give you a trade proposition. Would you pull the trigger on getting Vlad Guerrero Jr. in a Mariners uniform? It's going to cost you Andres Munoz, Harry Ford, the guest of last week's show, and say a top 50 prospect. Are you pulling the trigger on that?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
Munoz, for me, is not going anywhere. I mean, you got him locked up for several more years. You know what he's going to give you. It all-star this year. I don't think so. I think that's too much.
Well, speaking of the locked up the next couple of years, now we do know Munoz, he's had a couple issues in regards to health early in the year. He seems to got to get over that. The biggest thing, you've been in the bullpen, right? You know how volatile that position is.
Yep.
But Andres Munoz, they love him. The organization loves him. The fan loves him. That's the big one, right? What if we're talking, if we gave up something lower tier than Andres Munoz and you're talking Harry Ford and, say, a mid-range prospect? Is that moving the needle for you?
Absolutely. That's a no-brainer.
Okay.
That's a no-brainer.
Okay.
Just the bat that would come along with that.
Yeah.
The ability to play first base, especially
Right.
now with some of the moves that have been made. Absolutely, I would do that. Hands
Okay,
down.
all right, okay. All right, so let's stick around with the bullpen, Casey, because you've had a lot of success in a Major League bullpen, so you know how valuable these guys are, even though everyone says we are expendable. Mason Miller, who is the hottest name out there when you talk about a bullpen arm, throwing 103. That average velo's gone up. You want to get Mason Miller in a Mariners uniform, fans and me, it's going to cost you Bryce Miller, so Miller for Miller, and Leo Rivas. Are you pulling the trigger on that trade?
That's a tough one because that is an unbelievable talent to have in your bullpen,
Yeah.
especially come playoff time. You get down there, that would be a hard one for me not to entertain, just because you have a guy in Emerson Hancock that can come up. Obviously, he doesn't have as much experience as Bryce, but if you feel like Mason Miller adds more value out of the pen than that swap between Bryce and Emerson, I don't know. That's a more interesting one to me than the Andres Munoz for Vlad Guerrero.
And by the way, the point I'm trying to make here, this is what it's going to cost you. This is the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, go get Bryce Miller. All right, are you willing to give up? I love Bryce Miller. He's been a guest on this show. I love how adaptable he is. I love how resilient that guy is. I don't want to give up Bryce Miller. And another reason why, and this is talking about the Andres Munoz topic as well. Look, if you are going to turn Mason Miller into a starting pitcher, I think starting pitcher obviously is way more valuable. If you had him at throwing 100 miles per hour with that kind of stuff, and he could do it 5 or 6 innings, okay, maybe I'll entertain it. But for a guy that, you know what, yes, you're going to get some help in the playoffs. That is for sure. Not some. You're going to get a lot of help in the playoffs. I just don't see. I don't want to break up the starting rotation. I don't want to do it. See, it's not easy, is it? All right, next one. Let's move on. Luis Robert. You hear this name come up all the time. It's going to cost you Emerson Hancock, Tyler Locklear, who has just been called up, and Dylan Moore. Are you making that move?
I don't think so, just because of the injury history, what you could potentially miss out on with Luis Robert Jr., and what you're going to get out of Dylan Moore, what you could get out of Locklear. I just think there's too much risk.
And the starting
there.
depth too.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking more now. I'm looking at Bryce Miller as well.
Yep.
And that to me is like that. All right, let's just go hard for a 2-month rental, and let's just give up guys who could be really impactful. Emerson Hancock, we've seen a little bit of him. Tyler Locklear is a big one. I'm not giving up him.
No, not at all.
Okay, again, that's the cost of doing business. Let's go with one more. Jazz Chisholm's name comes up a lot. Now, he has struggled a little bit this year. We've seen it. We've had some questionability in regards to a teammate. That's a big one for me. Are you doing Jazz Chisholm for Taylor Saucedo, another guest on the top step? Fernand Celestine, a prospect, who's in rookie ball, by the way, and Cade Marlowe.
I don't think I do that one either.
There you go.
I don't think I do that one either. This is tough, though. It makes
tough.
you think. It
Makes
makes
you
you
think.
respect a little bit of the decisions that have to be made, especially because, even in the clubhouse, you're sitting there like, what would you do to get this guy, that kind of thing. So this is interesting.
And by the way, Jazz Chisholm, he's got 2 years of arbitration left, $2.6 million, so affordable. But I'm not like, I love Sauce, been on the show. And by the way, I get attached emotionally. So do the fans.
I feel like that's me too, especially when it comes to the bullpen guys. Like I'm going to gravitate towards those guys and say, nah, don't touch my guys,
Yeah, for sure. Now, what do you think? Would you pull the trigger? Now, if the Mariners haven't pulled the trigger, who knows? Some club has pulled the trigger on some of these moves. Maybe. I don't know. Would you pull those triggers? Pull the trigger on some of these moves. Go to @the Top Step TV on social media. Let us know. Let us know what you think. But it is tough. Now, speaking of what the Mariners may do, may not do, what they have done, haven't done, let's talk about what is important for them moving into the month of August. We're going to come up with 3 things each. We're going to both come up with 3 things the Mariners have to do in the month of August and September. This is brought to you by the San Juan Seltzer, the official drink of the Top Step. We'll see you right after the break. All right, welcome back to the Top Step. We're inside the EQC Sportsbook. We love it in here. We've been hanging out here all afternoon, and now we get a chance to do a show. And by the way, I'm joined by former Mariner Casey Sadler. Now, we talked about some crazy trade propositions. Maybe they happened, maybe they didn't. I don't know, but it's not that simple. But we're talking about August and September right now for the Seattle Mariners. What needs to happen? By the way, this is brought to you by San Juan Seltzer, the official drink of the Top Step. So let's talk about the team internally. You can get a trade piece here and there. You get Randy Arozarena. You get some bullpen help with Yimi Garcia. But you got to do some stuff, man. The current team. We're talking about the current team. Now, I used the threshold at the beginning of the show. You can go back and watch it. I gave some predictions for the team to get to 95 wins. I thought 95 wins would put them in a good spot. Thinking the Houston Astros would just get off guns blazing. They got off to a rough start. But let's talk about 90-plus wins. What are some things that have to happen in the month of August and September? We both came up with 3 things. These are my 3 things. First of all, and Casey, you'll get a chance, by the way. You'll get a chance, but these are the 3 big ones. I don't know. We'll see what Casey's got here. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He only pitched in the big leagues, 24 months ago or even less. All right, the bullpen, you know very well. They need to have the 3 guys at the end Yimi Garcia, Santos has to be healthy, and Munoz has to be available every day. You had Santos with a knee issue. He's trying to get right. Munoz was kind of like off and on, right? Like you were trying to see if he could be available, but he's got to be available every single day. Mm-hmm. These 3 to 4 guys in the back end of your bullpen, this is how this team is built. If these 3 guys are right, man, they are going to be in a way better spot. What do you got on that?
I agree, because when you're not scoring runs like they would like to score runs, those 1-2 run leads are so huge. That's like a 5-run lead right now, So like those 4 guys are going to be crucial to the success, coming down the road. Yeah,
I just think I get it. Offense help, absolutely. I think some guys are going to pick it up, which we're going to talk about. But lean into that pitching. Lean into that. Get through the 6th inning. Go 1 or 2 runs, dude. You got this bullpen. Forget about it. Mm-hmm. All right, that leads me to number 2. I need to have Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Haniger. I'm going to throw Mitch Haniger in there as well. I need the OPS to be 750 plus for the month of August and September.
Yeah. I was looking at some numbers. Just if they could even get close to that, you're
talking 725. You good with that?
I mean,
just think about that, man. Think about that boost though. Like on base, number 1, and then the slug. Julio's starting to slug a little bit more. Polanco's starting to show a little bit, and I'm throwing Mitch Haniger in there. The reason why, now I know Mitch's playing time's been a little bit less. They've been rotating in outfield. Mm-hmm. Who knows what they end up doing now with the Arozarena? But just having a guy like that who can role play a little bit more and just show a little bit of that, more of that thump.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've noticed that's been different is having played with him in 21, seeing the big hits that he was coming up with, and like him not maybe catching some breaks or not, it's just, it seems like he's just as frustrated as everybody else because he knows that this is not him. And so I think for him to come out and for us to see the Mitch Haniger that he knows he can be, I think
and you play with him too.
Yep.
So you know how that goes, man. When guys aren't hitting, it's a little different feel in the clubhouse. My last one, I'll keep this one quick because I want to get to Casey's. You got to play better on the road. The starting rotation, you're talking to 2-5, how dominant they've been at home. On the road, it's more like a 4-3, 4-4. Bryce Miller, someone who, man, if he could pick it up a little bit more on the road, shown a little bit of that more recently, if they can do just a little bit better on some of these road trips, I think they're going to be better. All right, that goes without saying. Now, Casey's 3. Do you remember him, or do you need me to read them to you?
I remember him.
Let's hear him. What do you got?
Obviously, going to start with the hitting. Over the last few games, even going back to the Toronto series, they've got to find a way to hit with runners in scoring position and even go even further with bases loaded.
Yeah, right.
I feel like there was so many wins during that time that they missed out on because strikeouts or pop-ups or things or grounding into double plays that, just kind of bad breaks, whatever. But like if they can just push across one run in that situation or whatever, I think you kind of see. But
I'm gonna let you do your number 2, but I do have a question. I want to follow up on something because you've been in the clubhouse way more recently than I have, and with some of these Seattle Mariners too. So give me number 2.
So I think number 2 for me is to try to cut down on the strikeouts. I think they averaging over 10 a game right now.
Yep,
that's a lot. It's a lot of balls not in play that don't have a chance to do anything.
Yes.
So that one might even be lead into a number 1 where if you can cut down some strikeouts in those situations. Those kind of go hand in hand, but it's kind of hard for a pitcher to sit here and tell hitters they need to hit better. But like just looking at it from a fan's perspective and an outsider, I think those 2 things are huge.
A former teammate of some of these guys, you've been in the clubhouse, and this is the question I want to ask you: how much does that, or even the conversation, right? You come out of 2023. I've said this a bunch, but I've been in the clubhouse as recently as you have. How much does leaving 2023? They struck out a bunch, so the big thing is, hey, cut down the strikeouts. Does that play on your mind psychologically where you feel it in a clubhouse where offensive players, you don't hit, right? But you talk to these guys all the time. Is this something they talk about? Talking about with runners in scoring position or cutting down the strikeouts?
I think so. I think that's just like a pitcher going out there and saying, man, I need to throw more strikes. It's like we all know that this is something that needs to happen, but it's like, how do you go about doing it? And knowing the guys that are in that clubhouse, I know they're working day in, day out on their approaches. They're working on, pitch selection, that kind of stuff. So it's like, what is it that needs to happen? I have no idea, because the guys that I played with last time I was in the clubhouse, I know are grinding.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, it's definitely...
It is a grind, man. And it's one of these ones, it's not like they're oblivious. They know. They read. Yeah. They read stuff on social media. And by the way, you can follow Casey Sadler on Twitter. You're on Instagram too, right?
Instagram,
Twitter at Casey Sadler.
C Casey Sadler 65 on Twitter, I think, and I think it's the same on Instagram. I don't know. I had to switch them there for a little bit.
I am following you, by the way. I am following you. I just don't know. I just put in Casey Sadler and boom, I can read it up. All right, the last one. Find a way to finish out games. We're talking about the bullpen. What do you got?
Well, I think we kind of saw a little bit of that today, I guess, even though we're taping before the deadline with the addition of Yimi Garcia. I think holding on to those 1-run leads, the 2-run leads late in the game, and having guys that when a Munoz is down or when a Santos is down that can come in and step in and kind of fill that role just to give those guys a little bit of a breather and hold on to that lead. I feel like there was a few games there where there was some guys that were maybe thrust into some roles that they didn't normally pitch in, and it kind of didn't go their way. But at the same time, as a pen guy and being in that situation, we don't want to give up the lead, but I think that that's going to be big.
Well, all right, we're talking baseball here inside the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook, but we're going to speak Australian. We're going to have the How to Speak Australian brought to you by the Kangaroo and Kiwi coming right up. I'm going to put Casey on the hot seat. Can he speak Australian? Is he going to know the word? He doesn't know it, by the way. He doesn't know it. This is not something that I've given you a heads up. We'll see right when we get back here on the Top Step.
Here's what's happening at Emerald Queen Casino this week. Get lucky at our fan favorite Lucky 4 lottery. Wednesdays in August. Match 3 numbers to win free play. Match 4 numbers to win $5,000 cash. Mondays and Tuesdays, earn points to receive an elegant Jones New York dinnerware gift set. Then, August 8th and 9th, get ready for the ultimate girls' night out with the legendary Chippendales. You gotta be here for it. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
From the EQC studio, welcome to the Top Step with Ryan Rowland-Smith.
Welcome back inside the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook. We have got Casey Sadler, and by the way, we've got some sweet shoes. This was not something that we planned. We didn't go, oh, hey, what shoes you wearing? Dude, what size are you, man?
These are 13s.
Boom, me too. Okay,
I have to go a size down though in the Jordans, but yeah.
You had to go. Why do you have to go a size down?
I don't know. I normally wear 14, but these are 13s.
Oh, these are well then I can just, dude. You can. I'll pay. I'll give you $25 and I'll take them. I love them.
These aren't going anywhere.
This wasn't pre-planned. I promise you. Neither was this, by the way. We're going to do the How to Speak Australian. This is brought to you by the Kangaroo and Kiwi, the Aussie pub. Have you ever been to the Kangaroo and Kiwi in Ballard?
I have not.
Oh, Casey, let's go, mate. Once we're starting to get to know each other a little bit more, I'm going to have to drag him out to the Kangaroo and Kiwi and have some good times. All right, so I'm going to teach you. I'm going to give you a word. I might even give you a sentence, and you have to guess it. Now, if Casey is unable to guess it, you can play along too. Go to @TheTopStepTV, #TTSMate, and you can have a crack at it, unless he gets it. All right, so the How to Speak Australian word this week is the word struth. Give it a go. Come on, have a red hot crack. What do you got?
Oh my God!
I'm gonna give you a sentence in a minute. You hear your sentence?
Yeah. Can I use it? We'll do a spelling bee thing. Can you use it in a sentence?
I heard the trade news from the Mariners when they acquired Randy Arozarena. I had to say to myself right away. I said, "Oh, struth! Can't believe it, Randy Arozarena." What does that mean?
Like amazing, awesome, like. Sick. I don't know.
Not bad. No, you're close. You're kind of close. If you know it, go to @TheTopStepTV, #TTSMate. Australians, you're disqualified right away. But have a crack. I'm not going to give him the answer. All right. You have to give it a red hot crack. Casey, this has been an absolute blast. He's sticking around, by the way. We're gonna be joined by Casey. We're going to be at the Sportsbook next week as well. So, Casey, you want to stick around next week?
Yeah.
I love it. I want to dive in. I've got some big questions for Casey. Now, if you get a chance, go over to YouTube, go subscribe @TheTopStepTV. You can watch the full-length interviews. You can watch all the extra content at @TheTopStepTV at YouTube. Go subscribe, go like, go review Casey Sadler's performance too. All right, mates, we'll see you next week right here in EQC Sportsbook and right here on the Top Step.